Greetings, everyone. Welcome again to the Psychic Tarot Show with Ashala Yardley, coming to you live every Saturday on the Beyond Mystic YouTube and Rumble channels. Welcome, Beyond Mystic community. So good to see many of you. Ricky, Caldbar, Lakeside Laura. Lakeside Laura saying happy birthday, President Donald J. Trump. Happy Flag Day and the U.S. Army celebrating 250 years. Very interesting juxtapositions in our world right now. And I was contemplating and meditating for a minute before I came on the date today. The number 14 is the Temperance card, and Temperance is so much about the blending of what appears like contrasting or elements that seem like they can't combine well. So I really get a feeling for today's live, for this overview, that there's a sense because people are feeling very torn in terms of different truths, different versions of reality that don't seem to blend. And I think we are looking at this as a temperance moment in our evolution. This is a time of great, I want to say, the alchemy of what can be created that we don't even know yet. That's the little message that I got going into today's live. So I hope that resonates to start us off with. Lupo, Fire Within, Linda, Guinness Girl. Aw, lovely to see so many of you. Have you noticed the synchronicities expanding or increasing in the last few days? This is something that I've been very aware of. These seem to fluctuate and go in waves or patterns of a lot of synchronicities, and then it calms down again. I don't know if it's the full moon. I don't know if it's the combination of energies, but that's another thing that I want to talk a little bit about today. So, welcome. Before we get started, as always, I'll remind you to follow us and subscribe over here on the YouTube channel so that we can continue to bring you great content. Please share this. Send our links to people that you think might be ready to come up to speed or learn new things, or even just embrace the woo in a little bit of a different way. And of course, you can also follow us over here on the Rumble and X channels, all the different shows that are available. And if you would like to book a session with me, as always, you can find me here on the Beyond Mystic Consultations page. I am booked up now all of next week, and I think into the week after. There's still a couple of spaces, so if you want to find me there, use the coupon code below to access a discount on your 1-hour private psychic tarot reading consultation with me. So let's see how the cards want to interpret what's going on in the outer world, what's going on in our inner world, and how to navigate specifically with those energies this week. I'm going to make the cards bigger. There we go. Tuning in, pulling our energies together in a supportive way. And I really love the energy of camaraderie, friendship, community that I've been seeing increasingly in the chats. I mean, it's always been there, but I feel a greater and greater sense of loving connection in our community. Let me know if you're feeling that as well. All right. I think there's just so much gratitude for having people in your corner, isn't there? Even if you feel alone where you are, it's just nice to know that there's many of us out there feeling alone together. So let's begin this week with our first card in the House of Aries, which is our ego. This is actually um, in some ways our ego can be a challenge for us because it's the part of us that is kind of unconsciously going forward and saying, I need to look after myself, I need to protect myself. Um, but it's also the self-determining part of ourselves. It's the part that thinks critically and acts maybe a bit impulsively, but also courageously. Well, we've got a very interesting card in this house of the ego this week. It is the King of Cups. So the King of Cups is well aspected, and we'll see how he's aspected. If he's well aspected, he is extremely mature. He's probably the most mature and able to hold a lot emotionally without being reactive. So he's very deep, and he's emotionally mature. You don't often get that energy in the House of Aries, right? Aries is not known for its depth and emotional maturity, the sign of Aries. Typically, it's known to be quite impulsive, and a little bit maybe ego driven, which is good because that's how we get things done. This feels like we're bringing in a very, very deep well of information and emotional intelligence this week. So let's see how it's aspected, because if this is well aspected, I'm very encouraged that with emotional maturity of this level in the house of the ego, we're going to do great. So let's see what's beside. Okay, in Taurus, security. Here we are in a world that if we call it a movie, I hesitate to use that language just because I recognize how much actual human experience is going on within that. But to see the the energies of what feels like chaos, destructiveness, violence, and so on in our world at large right now, this card is a lot about, again, emotional resilience. It is the joy factor. It's the celebration factor. It's what I was just talking about. Like, this is really the making lemonade out of lemons factor, and very well aspected to this King of Cups. They're both cups. And if we have emotional maturity in our ego, and we have this high frequency energy of joy and celebration in Taurus, which is about security and our material resources and so on. This is like almost like we're sort of saying, you know what? It's not, the material things don't matter as much as the connections, as the community. Well, this means that we can be freed up to be a lot more creative in how we strategize in our lives. So, to me, these are signs that we're doing very well, that all of you are doing a great job of evolving, of ascending, of coming into new earth frequency, because this is pretty strong indicators of maturity, emotional resilience, and so on. Off to a good start. Okay, and then we have in the house of Gemini, ideas, thoughts, and communications. Well, this is boundaries. This is having the emperor there. It's a very clear kind of foundational, no nonsense. That was another word that came in for me as I was just sort of meditating before I came on live. I was getting this, okay, cut to the chase, no nonsense, no BS time. Um, and also, the emperor is a very masculine energy. It's also a lot about um, the proof behind the narratives. So we're going to start to see more evidence behind the narratives. I think a lot of people in our community are also like, okay, let's get on with this. Let's get on with seeing the proof. Um, so let's see what is beside this in the house of Cancer. So, home and sanctuary, your family of origin, your siblings, parents and children, and so on. This is looking burdensome this week. So it might be a week to not try to help everybody. It might be a week to, sort of pull back from overextending yourself, especially in your um, commitments in your home base and with family members and parents and children. So, I get that sense that we are just pulling back. Even they're saying about 10%, pull yourself back into yourself. And this actually came in a couple of readings this week where there was that image of, before you go to bed at night or when you have some time to yourself, you are literally pulling your energy back because it seems like, if we all have our energy connected, especially in our home situations, the relationships with the people we live with and our close family and so on, uh, it's almost like we get in a web. We can get literally sort of locked into, that old game Twister where you're all kind of twisted up. Like we've got cords. They're saying cords of concern, but they're anxious concern. So we've got these cords um, connected to the people that we're closest to, but they are also discord, right? They create discord. So it doesn't mean you don't care about people. It doesn't mean you don't make commitments and show up, but it means you recognize, let's say you've had an emotional interaction, you've had a process. You don't just stay in that. You complete it. And then at some point before you go to bed that night, you're going to pull yourself back into yourself and maybe not cut cords, but just retract that web. It feels like it's similar to this boundaries and no BS, like, like just kind of being your own autonomous being at the base of who you are. Because it does feel like we're starting to become aware of how entangled we are. And it does, again, and even the idea of cutting cords, I feel more like we want to say, let's draw in our web of connection and then reconnect when we're engaging with people and then draw it back in when we're done. There's just something about that, the energy of that feels important. How is that resonating with all of you? This is pretty esoteric stuff we're getting into. Oh, yeah. Just wanting to look at your comments. We can't fight others' battles. Allow yourself to rest. Everyone has their own journey. Interesting was just talking about this. Yeah. So where, it's almost like they're saying it's a very simple act of pulling your energy back into yourself, and yet it could have huge effects in your overall life this week. Mhm. Yay, thank you. Seems you agree. Thank you. And that seems smart right now. It does, doesn't it? Thank you. Thank you all for your presence because this is your wisdom. It's our collective wisdom that is generated when we tune in together like this by the hundreds. Okay, another king. So notice this, everybody. We've got two kings and an emperor right now, a very masculine energy flavor to this week so far. And when I think about the masculine, what I think is about determination. You know, it isn't about men and women. It's really about different styles of approach to life. And the masculine is very purposeful, determinant. It's very not distracted, right? So we think about that energy very purposefully, bringing your wisdom and maturity with this King of Cups, purposely bringing, your in communication, bringing your own inner protector or bodyguard, and then guarding your energy, not in a get away from me, but in a, oh no, I'm going to pull myself back into myself. And then we have here in the house of Leo, which is a lot about being gregarious, being generous spirited, being open to everybody, being on display and out in the open. We've got a boundary setter there. So, you know, um, but he's a big, bold boundary setter. He's not like, kind of afraid to tiptoe out. He's going out like, yeah, here I am. And I'm fully autonomous and kind of untouchable because I know myself and I've already got, I'm watching, I'm observing. I've got good boundaries, but I'm also not playing small. So that's how I would read the King of Swords in the House of Leo. You've got great boundaries, you've got a lot of purposefulness and a lot of autonomy, but you don't suffer fools. And you're out there, but you're also very aware. Yeah, out there and aware is how I would phrase that. So let's keep going and see what is in Virgo, what is in health. Oh, so now we've got a queen energy coming in. So far, when you have a lot of court cards, it means we're working on character development this week. Court cards are the characters. They're literally the 16 characters of the tarot. And when we see a lot of court cards, it means there's a lot of character development or character evolution. So a Queen of Wands in Virgo means exploring a lot about health and habits. It means, with all of this, there's quite a lot of sense of personal self-determination, purposefulness, and so on, boundaries, and then creativity with regards to your health. So this could be where you feel a lot of motivation or inspiration to play with your schedule, play with your habits, play with your routines, play with your health protocols, experiment. So it's interesting. We do free up a lot of this beautiful energy of creativity when when all of our energy is not woven in with the people around us. So, again, they're saying alone together. We're very autonomous. We're really getting into learning more about how to be sovereign and also deeply connected in our relationships, our families, our groups, and our communities. This is also, to me, a lot about, with Taurus and Virgo both in represented like this. To me, this is a lot about music and food, and so you could be doing a lot of cooking this week for fun, for the joy of it, experimenting with a new recipe. There could be spontaneous kind of like yeah, like celebrations or social activities. Um, and again, this isn't where you make a big serious commitment. There's both of these cards have to do with just sort of spontaneously jumping into things, not having a big plan. So there could be some spontaneous fun activities. And it's curious. It's almost like this queen gets to be very playful and creative and extroverted because she's got this king as her bodyguard behind her. Yeah. Mm, yeah. This is an important week thus far. Yeah. Oh, Denise, 717, grandkids came up with all kinds of problems yesterday, trying to get them to solve themselves. So isn't that interesting, right? This piece of doing the work for others versus stimulating their creativity, and playfulness, almost like a playful muse energy this week. But look what's backing it is all this maturity and no nonsense and kind of like energetic bodyguard going on. Wow. Okay. So halftime here at the Libra house, our relationships, our partnerships. Again, we could be saying yes to some things and no to other things. So there feels like a lot of clarity this week about where's your yes, where's your no, and not in a mean way, right? I don't see any meanness here. Look at what's across from this Ace of Swords is that mature King of Cups in Aries. So even Aries, the ego, that need to react is very tempered this week with a lot of calmness, a lot of maturity. So it's going to be easier to say, make your declarations, be clear, ask for what you need. Don't, have very good, clear boundaries. And also say no. Don't take it all on. Let's see what happens next. Ooh. Okay, so we have 2 kings and an emperor, 1 queen and an empress. Again, the word temperance or alchemy or balance, right? And then that gets into what's going on in the outer world. It came up in a reading this week that this energy of all the storms that are happening, both literally and figuratively, have the effect, if we can roll with it, they're having the effect of clearing, cleansing, healing. It looks just like pandemonium and chaos as we're in the middle of it, but doesn't that feel like that in a storm? And what happens after the storm? You go outside and there's that ozone, right? There's that freshness in the air, that, the negative ions in the air that literally clear. And this Empress, she is, she's nature, she's nurture, she's in the house of Scorpio, endings and new beginnings. She's also our Earth Mother. She's the mother of all. And in Scorpio, death and rebirth, This looks a lot more like birth than death. But notice what happens during birth. There are periods of the birthing process that look like a kind of death, right? And I think that's what we're seeing right now. It feels very ominous. Penny Kelly and I, we didn't meet this Friday, but we're going to meet next Friday. We have another Intuition Friday, the last one before the holiday for July. And we're going to talk about this idea of, the Armageddon, all of these energies around catastrophe and so on, and that it's basically focusing on the destruction, but not seeing that it's actually a part of the birth. It's a part of the birthing process. And if we get locked into the fear and that frequency of destructiveness, we could get just kind of carried off by that. We're literally, the baby is going out with the bathwater, right? We do want to clear a lot, but we don't want to lose the baby with the bathwater. So interesting, even here, Empress, and across from the Empress in the house of Taurus, Three of Cups. Both of these are number threes. The Empress is the third major arcana card. See that? And so the frequency of the Empress is also in all the number three cards of the tarot. So this Three of Cups has that. Is this devastation or is this celebration? And it feels like we're going to crack that code a bit this week. We're going to feel it. You can tell yourself up here. You can even convince yourself in your heart, but feeling it in your whole being, that is different. And it does seem like we're going to get a landed, grounded sense of not just the idea that we're winning the war, but the actual feeling that there's some kind of great birth taking place. Love this. How is this landing for all of you? Love it. Aw. Love the black cat. The black cat here with our Queen of Wands. Yeah, it's also the wild aspects of ourselves, right? Like we have the wild energy with this kitty, which is actually kind of a wild cat, like a panther. And then we have the Empress, which is also about nature and the earth and the wilderness, the wild. So our inner wild is emerging through all of this destruction and chaos. Also, of course, the obvious is nature is your friend. How can you integrate that this week? How can you have a meaningful connection to plants, animals, nature, land? Oh, goodness. Another ace, another ace. Wow. We're always happy when we see aces because it's turning over a new leaf. You have two of them, two new leaves. One of them is around relationships, partnerships, agreements, contracts. Say yes to some things, no to other things. There's going to be a lot of clarity. And this one is around your inspiration, your emotional feeling of fulfillment, hopefulness. You could probably call the Ace of Cups the hopeful, true hopefulness. And it's showing up in Sagittarius. Expansion, higher philosophy, spirituality. Change, truth. Whew. All right. Oh, oh, oh. Wow, wow, wow. We've got a 10 below, we've got a 10 above. 10 above is my mom used to say, well, you got out of that scrape and it was more by good luck than good management. Or in spite of ourselves, we end up achieving. I think it's actually more about, in the spirit of true creation, what we visualize is coming into actualization. The 10 of Pentacles, to give you some perspective, is the most actualized materially of every card in the tarot. In fact, it's the final card. And it's, when I teach tarot classes, I talk about the 10 of Pentacles is your goal for going through the 78 degrees of initiation of the tarot journey. The goal is this is the end game. And the end game is the legacy. It is whatever you leave behind that made the world a little better for your being here. And I feel teary almost. It's in the house of self-fulfillment, self-fulfilling prophecy, your self-actualization, your purpose in Capricorn, the highest house here. So even though we feel depleted, exhausted, like we're failing, flailing, all caught up in the web of everybody's business and feeling overwhelmed, like we can't go another step, by more good luck than management, in spite of ourselves, this is what we are actually bringing into existence, is this legacy. So again, what is it that makes stuff come into actualization in this 3D world? Is it just physical effort? Is it just mental effort? Is it just emotional effort? Yeah. Is it just spiritual effort? Obviously, it's a combination. But, when it's ready to, I want to say, reveal itself. Now, let's just pause for a minute and take stock. And it reminds me of an old saying about when it's ready to reveal itself, what does the timing look like? And this is where we go. I can't go another step. I'm exhausted. I once heard many years ago, we often overestimate what we can do in a year. So here's the year, right? The elections happened. We want everything better like a month later. Well, okay, maybe 5 months later. Okay, well, maybe a year later, maximum. That's as long as we're going to wait. But we're not actually seeing the wisdom is we underestimate what we can achieve in 10 years. And I have to say, we know that this is the playbook of the dark cult power dominant control model. It's all about long game. It's all about the long game. So why are we trying to beat that with short game strategy? Think about it. If that whole premise is based on long game strategy, we're trying to apply short game strategy to match it, to beat it, to clear it. It has to be a long game. It has to be. We get the result and then some, better than we imagine. So this is a lot of forest for the trees, right? Like we have to be able to see the forest. And let yourself feel that this week. Let yourself feel that. And funny, we're talking about forests and nature again. I want to see how this is landing for all of you. Mhm. Mhm. The tangled web we weave with family and how to untangle it. Yep. Mhm. Aw, thanks, Fire Within. Sweet nuggets. Yep. Thank you, Sherry. Ace of Cups across from the Emperor, Linda says. Yeah, wow. Truly. Um, there's a feeling with this that we thought we had to go out and attack. We thought we had to go out and win the battle quickly. We thought we had to really make something happen. Wake up the sleepers, change the narratives, like, and all of us in our own way have been addressing that and taking practical steps in those directions. Yes, like we're all doing our little part or our big part or our complementary parts. But really, the greatest success is how we get there, not when we get there, not where there is, but the how is that we arrive mature with good boundaries, creativity, open to joy and celebration and spontaneous high frequency celebration and happiness, making lemonade out of lemons just because we love it. And somehow going, wow, we didn't see, but we are actually building this legacy. Mhm. Whew. Okay. Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay. Now, this is interesting because I just suddenly when I saw this, I suddenly was being shown here's our King of Swords across from the Tower in the house of Aquarius. Okay. So, on the one hand, we have to follow through with where I was going with all of this is it can be very discouraging to see humanity suffer in this transition. Yes, it's like painful. I've had so many people say, I'm so devastated and heartbroken seeing the suffering. And a lot of this, why? And then I'm reminded of things like, the revolution for independence in India with Gandhi leading this nonviolent, um, basically, the having this clear sense of purpose, whether you agree with all of it or not, that what I'm talking about is a kind of metaphysical approach to creating change and real evolution. And that approach is basically saying there's clarity about what the goal is. We're not asking for violence and abuse, but we are stepping forward one by one to, if it's our turn to be on the front line, we say, I will take the hit, I will take a hit for all of us because you've got 100 people behind you also ready to do that. You're not a martyr in the sense of you sacrificed yourself for the greater good of all and no one else is doing that. We are in a team. We are in a growing collective of people that are saying, when it's my turn, I will take that hit. And I think we really take a lot of sorrow and suffering in our hearts when we see people somewhere else taking the hit and going, oh no, like, I feel so sad and so tragic about it. And I think the question to ask yourself is, if it was here, would I take it? And if you can actually say, yeah, I would stand up for what I believe, I would, wherever, when it comes to my neighborhood, I will be on the front line. And if you're saying that and knowing that in your heart, then that's liberation right there. The liberation of that dominant paradigm is going, it's not feeling sorry for yourself or others or feeling victimized. It's saying, I will be counted on the side of freedom. And I will do it in whatever way is in front of me. If right now it's writing letters or watching Beyond Mystic, getting involved in community projects and ideas and activations, if it's doing healing work, if it's working with my grandkids, I will do whatever. And if it comes to my door and I have to stand up for what I believe, I will do that too. And that is liberation, folks. That's the liberation right there. You are free from the spell of slavery and dominance. So just take that in for a minute. Instead of looking out there and going, oh my gosh, like, why are people so stupid? Or why is this happening? And how can I live in a world like this? Can you look and say, how many people are in their turn stepping into the front line? And we will all be honored in due course for the role we play, in good conscience, in good honor. So the most important thing is know yourself, know where you stand, know where your yeses and your nos are. Don't carry others and don't expect others to carry you, but work as a team and have fun along the way. Bust that algorithm of you're going to be living in fear. Yeah. It's interesting that you will own nothing and be happy. And, what I hear is you will feel nothing and you won't care. And that is not true. Look at this. We are feeling more than ever. And how we are caring is we are really showing up. We are really showing up with our full selves, sure of who we are, not sure of how this is just going to unfold, right? Not sure of when we're going to be called up to the front, but sure of what we'll do when we are. So, big stuff. Big stuff. Wow. Wow, beautiful comments, everybody. Yeah. Yeah, what I was meaning by that, you will feel nothing and you won't care, is, that is the actual continuation of that. You will own nothing and you'll be happy. Because happiness will only last so long when we've all completely sold our soul, right? So then it'll just be emptiness. Aw. Yeah. Aw. All right. Last couple of cards here, everybody. Another ace. Get up and sing. And interesting, right across from Queen of Wands. Remember I said music, song, dance, good food, recipes, cooking, sharing. This is on the horizon this week. And an Ace of Wands in the house of Pisces. So you can't fake it to your own subconscious. What do they say? Subconscious rules like 75% of our reality is running unbeknownst to us, right? And it is actually where we receive and perceive, and we operate from that place instinctively, instinctually. So you can't trick your own subconscious. But what you can do, like with something like this, what it's saying is the subconscious has to be clear to be um, doing what it does best, which is just generating inspiration, imagination. Pisces is the sign of your imagination, your inspiration, the muse, creativity. Wow. Divine inspiration from within. For that to show up there, and I actually have seen this card in this house in readings in the last couple of weeks more than I've ever seen it in that position before. That to me tells me that we are obviously, again, you can't fake it with the subconscious. You're going to get the real truth. And the real truth here is that we are growing a wild nature within us that is liberating itself from the inside out. So that's a sign, folks, that we are succeeding in a big way here. Wow. 3 aces, 3 of a kind of blessing. Aces, renewal, rebirth, the birthing empress, pregnant with possibility in the house of death and rebirth. Mhm. You know, um, yeah, our subconscious is our human operating system, and our operating system has to be functioning well. Thank you, Linda. It has to be functioning well for this to be able to happen. That wouldn't happen. We wouldn't get that there if it was struggling. We certainly weren't getting cards like this a couple of years ago. Mm-mm. Yeah. Wow. Finally. So, miles to go. We don't need to know everything. 2 of Swords, the next 2 weeks, to some extent, stay neutral. Keep the blinders on a bit, meaning really listen with your instincts when you tune into some kind of information. And if, again, like I've said this before, if it's making you go, yeah, okay, I don't just know this, I feel this in my being. It feels like right. And if you don't get that hit, just pause and go, yeah, not right now, not right now. Just weed through things till you find something that is like, yes, for this week, that is good information for me. And not trying to figure out, again, the solutions with our minds just yet. Really almost till the new moon, we're getting a bit of a, now interesting that all of those court cards, right? Self-development. Yeah, so this week, also a final thing I want to say with all of those aces, but also 2 10s, mastering letting go still. And if something is coming in this week that feels like a bit of a out of left field sideswipe, in your, especially related to, people around you, what they're going through, your friends, your networks, and so on, see it as being, you don't need to make a final decision, but you do need to, again, pull your energy back into yourself and let things dissipate. Let things dissipate for another couple of weeks is what I'm being shown. Just want to check with your comments, see how this is all landing. Yeah. Oh, Digibean, thank you. This is epic. I think it really is. And we've been saying that over and over and over again, haven't we? For the last, I don't know, even couple of months. It feels like the cards have just been powerfully suggesting amidst everything that's going on out there, there's an inner up level and an inner success story that we may not get to the perspective of really integrating just how incredible we've done until about that 10-year mark. And then we're going to look back at now and go, oh my gosh, look what we did. We didn't even know. We thought we were like falling and failing, and look at what we were doing. Yeah. Beautiful. Aw, it's been such a pleasure, everyone. As always, I feel so transformed by working with your guidance teams and receiving these messages through the power neutral bandwidth of the heart that are going to be of the best use for all of us at this time of ideal use. So, as always, I'm going to take you back through our offerings, and there I am. If you want to find me, just follow the links below, use the coupon code Beyond Mystic, all capital letters. We have these offerings still on the table for a little while longer. The Father's Day giveaway sale with Ascension Orgonites is still on for a few more days. Actually, one more day. Tomorrow's the last day. So if you were thinking about this, jump in there. This is your last opportunity to take advantage of this offer. And of course, use code Father's Day in capital letters to get a 25% discount. And another thing that is very timely is Opening Psychic Senses Part 3. So the live is happening on June 22nd, which is not that far away. So come on over there and check that out. I just want to see, I think there is actually a sale on related to this. Let me look. Psychic Senses, 3 days left to save 10% with promo code OPENING10. Visit the Academy page, Beyond Mystic Academy. There we go. So check out the link below. And as always, please remember to like, share, and subscribe over here on the Beyond Mystic YouTube channel. And follow us on Rumble and X. There we go. The schedule, what is coming up in the next couple of days. As always, we have the Sunday Beyond Astro with Meg, and we have Monday, the Daily Astro Show, Coffee and Chats with Meg on Monday this week, and Beyond the News with Jean-Claude and Janine, 8 to 9 p.m. on Monday. Have a beautiful week, everybody. Blessings to all of you. And I wish you all the best with this incredible energy of renewal, of no nonsense, good discernment, good protection, good pulling your own energy back to yourself, your yeses, your nos, and the legacy that's growing amidst all of this going on. Blessings, everybody. Have a beautiful week. Bye for now.